Most people would have dismissed this as an ordinary romance, the kind that blends into the background of countless others. But some lives are layered with truths that refuse to stay hidden, and some loves are tested in ways no one expects. This is one of those stories. When Victoria Hale married Marcus Rowan, the corporate world couldn't stop talking. Victoria was the driving force behind Hale Industries, a woman known for turning negotiations into victories and walking into boardrooms where no one dared interrupt her. Marcus, on the other hand, was a quiet widower raising his young son, Noah. He spent his days repairing fences, fixing leaky roofs, and helping neighbors who paid him in gratitude more often than money. He dressed simply, drove an aging sedan, and avoided attention whenever possible. To Victoria's peers, the match made no sense. To the press, Marcus was an unanswered question. To her inner circle, he was an error in judgment. They met by chance during a stormy evening at a local school charity event. Victoria attended out of obligation, knowing public generosity helped corporate optics. Marcus was there because Noah insisted on volunteering, and someone needed to arrange the folding chairs. When Victoria slipped on the slick floor, it was Marcus who caught her instinctively. There were no flashing cameras, no murmurs of admiration. Just a calm voice asking if she was hurt. He didn't recognize her name. He didn't seem impressed. He didn't ask for anything. That moment lingered with her long after the night ended. Being with Marcus felt like entering a life she never realized she was missing. He paid attention instead of competing. He remembered her preferences, cooked uncomplicated meals that felt grounding, and created a home that felt steady. Noah welcomed her without conditions, unaware of the empire she managed each day. With them, Victoria wasn't an executive or a symbol of authority. She was simply herself. When Marcus proposed, his voice shook and the ring was modest, but his sincerity was unmistakable. Victoria accepted without hesitation. The ceremony was intimate, surprisingly small. There were no influential guests from Marcus's past, only a few neighbors and Noah, whose joy filled the room. Whenever questions about Marcus's history arose, he deflected gently. Victoria assumed there were old wounds, things he wasn't ready to revisit. She didn't push. Marriage settled into a quiet rhythm. Marcus supported Victoria but avoided the spotlight. He attended formal events only when she asked and stood comfortably on the sidelines. Whispers followed them everywhere. People said she had settled, that he was benefiting from her success. Victoria shut down every comment, but she couldn't ignore that large parts of Marcus's earlier life remained a mystery. Everything unraveled one night on a deserted road. A dark vehicle began tailing them. Victoria noticed first. Marcus reacted moments later, his demeanor shifting instantly. His relaxed posture disappeared, replaced by focus and control. He took sharp turns, navigated narrow streets, and eventually stopped in a pitch-black area. He told Victoria to stay inside, lock the doors, and not respond no matter what she heard. His tone was calm but absolute. Minutes passed. Voices murmured outside. Then silence. Marcus returned with bruised hands and distant eyes. The other vehicle was gone. When Victoria demanded an explanation, he only said they were safe, in a way that suggested he had meant it many times before. The truth came days later when unfamiliar men arrived at their home. They weren't law enforcement. Their posture changed when Marcus appeared, addressing him with a title Victoria had never heard. In that moment, everything she believed cracked. Marcus wasn't just a quiet handyman. He had once been part of an elite military unit, involved in classified missions, his identity erased for security reasons. He had walked away after losing his team, choosing to raise Noah instead of returning to a life that demanded everything and gave nothing back. The man who fixed chairs and packed lunches had once operated in shadows, saving lives that would never be publicly acknowledged. Victoria wasn't angry because of who he had been. She was hurt because he had carried that weight alone. Their relationship entered its most fragile stage. Victoria struggled to reconcile the gentle man at home with the disciplined force she had glimpsed. Marcus was consumed by guilt, convinced his past had finally put them in danger. He decided the safest choice was to leave. Victoria found him packing. She didn't shout. She didn't argue. She told him that authority and power had never frightened her, but silence had. Now that the truth was out, she chose him again. Not the soldier, not the myth, but the father who read bedtime stories and the man who caught her before she fell, without knowing who she was. The risks didn't vanish immediately. Threats resurfaced, forcing them to stand together. Victoria contributed strategy. Marcus relied on instincts honed long ago. They learned to trust each other fully. She discovered that strength doesn't always announce itself. He learned that sharing burdens doesn't diminish courage. Noah learned that heroes can look ordinary and still be extraordinary. Eventually, the rumors faded. Not because everyone understood Marcus, but because Victoria stopped needing their approval. She had chosen a man the world misjudged. And in that choice, she learned that true power isn't found in status or control. It lives in love that endures, even when it carries scars, and in people who choose peace after surviving storms.